I would have liked to have not been there on my own.
Happiness only real when shared.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not on my like loner mode anymore.
What are we talking about?
Just
travels?
Just Berlin.
Oh.
And we're just recording now.
And I get you. The loner mode, it can feel really good sometimes. You're like, I'm out, I'm doing it, I don't need it.
Yeah.
But then
I've done it so much this last year, though. I've been on the road for 6 months.
You got a kid on the way. It's like, yeah, you're going to want to...
Yeah, I like touching that tummy, feeling those kicks.
Touch that dude.
Last night, I talked to my daughter, like through the belly, and she kicked me right away. It was great.
That's nice.
Awesome.
I have, so I've been on antidepressants for like 10 years, and I got off of them, and now it does not take much to get some tears going.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel overall now that
Wait, hold on. You're not a tear guy.
I know.
You've had these stored up for years.
Oh, yeah.
Are you like ugly crying?
Not yet. It's going to come, though. I'm only like 2 weeks completely off. I weaned for like 6 to 9 months.
What's the difference that you feel overall?
Anxiety. I'm terrified all the time.
Oh, dude.
Really? No, I'm just adjusting to it, but feelings.
Do you want any pills?
No, but I've thought I just get so anxious. I've toyed with the idea, but I still try to do other stuff. But it's like I have this whole list of things I have to do if I don't want to be.
But you're
racked with
super regimented.
I can be, but then I'll fall into, I'll have stretches of time where I live more chaotically. And what's weird is I start to get sad in those times.
What's weird about you is that I met you having always known that you were super funny, but also that when I first met you, we were all on the moving trucks, and you were kind of always on Kratom.
Yeah.
And I was like, people were like, he's super funny, but he's kind of like fucked up all the time. Like,
what was that like?
It was before all three of you guys had been at the cellar too. So you were kind of just bopping around.
He was also such a good mover when he was on Kratom.
Oh yeah.
He was like,
was I? I hope so.
You were good.
I don't know. How did I stack up for you as a mover?
You were great. I loved working with you.
Yeah, I just wanted to be useful. But Kratom it like elevates your mood. It gives you energy. So especially when at the beginning.
But it's addictive, right?
Totally. And you will have physical withdrawal. So I've gone through stretches where I don't do it. And now I'll do it in the morning before I go exercise. It's like my pre-workout, and then I don't do it over the weekend or like for 3 days out of the week.
Is kava the opposite?
Yes, kava is like chill.
Kava's chill. Kava's got like a lot of magnesium. It can be good for muscle soreness and just relaxing after you've done a lot of effort. But there's versions of Kratom that are more relaxed. But the stuff I like is like green vein, or they call it white vein, which are more of the uppers of Kratom.
I think I'm gonna give that a shot one day.
Some people enjoy it. Some people it doesn't agree with them at all. But yeah, I do like to have a little something going on in my brain most of the time, which is
you're a good old boy. You're a good old Southern.
I don't know that I am. I think I leaned into that. I grew up in the suburbs of Atlanta.
Come on. No, you definitely got some Dixie in you though.
Well,
in your voice,
the whole family is pretty damn Southern.
You're dipping.
My sister just got married this weekend, and now we have this whole new Midwestern piece of family that's just joined the fold.
You do seem like you came from a good family.
They're like nice people. They're very religious people.
What religion?
Catholic.
Oh,
really?
Me too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
I've never met a fucking Southern white Catholic.
Oh, well, I love talking about this. It's because Savannah is a big port city, so a bunch of Irish came through Savannah.
Oh, so you're a
and
mix.
so and my dad and my grandfather went to this Catholic Irish, like Catholic school run by monks in Savannah.
Oh.
And then all the women would go to this other school. It's Benedictine and St. Vincent. And then Atlanta's a big city.
He went to an all-boys Catholic school.
Irish Christian Brothers.
Really?
Was who ran it when I was there.
Did you like it?
Loved it. It was honestly like, I think a part of why I really enjoy like the moving company and like comedy in general is that it's all guys, and it's just like all guys fucking around and being stupid. And it was so much fun.
That is something that I love about being a boy is that never goes away. Like I'm in my 40s now.
And I think I'm funnier the more I tap into my childishness.
Totally.
Like being mature is not conducive to what we do.
I've been thinking about that lately too, where it's like if I was just going to do bits that I thought were funny, it would only be like silly.
Yeah.
stupid shit. It would be nonsense.
There's
And
so
I want
many
to do
times.
it more.
Yeah.
There's so many times that I think something is funny that is just like so super stupid, but it's only I can understand why it's funny because it's just like something I saw or something like that.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could translate that to the stage.
Yeah, it's the type of thing you try it on stage and they don't like it, and I would just like start to panic and be like,
Yeah.
Anyway, here,
I'm not actually
how
a bad
about
guy.
these regular jokes.
You're like, you see what I'm saying, right? Like it's funny, if you know. And they're like, no.
This guy gets it, right?
They're just laughing at you, panicking.
So I did this stupid joke that I'm gonna have to. I can't say the venue because they're a small mom and pop venue, but I did a stupid joke. Here's the joke, and you've heard this before, where it's I met a girl that was celibate, so I was like, "How about you sell a bit of that pussy to me?"
Love it.
I'm at this venue in Brooklyn, and this girl yells out right after that, "You shouldn't have said that to a woman." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "You shouldn't have said that to a woman who's practicing abstinence." And I was like, "I never did. I never said any of this stuff. These are all lies. They're jokes." And
She stormed out. She was like, I thought this was a play.
I thought I was getting information. No, she did actually storm out eventually. She was yelled out at me like, "Why are you still talking?" I'm like, "It's because I'm doing I'm supposed to do this."
Yeah.
Like I'm actually getting.
Why are you still talking to
And
a
then,
comedian? It's hilarious.
And then she eventually leaves, goes out into like the alley that's right by the door, and it's like slamming the door open and closed.
What?
Yeah. As she's leaving, she's like, "You're an adult man, and I'm younger than you." And I'm like, "What does this have to do with anything?"
I love these
She's
kind of
very
people.
literal. She's a very literal person.
Was this in Bushwick?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
They so one of the owners goes outside and is talking with her. He comes back. He's like, "I told her to go take a walk around the block, so you should leave now. She wants to punch you in the face." I also told her that we're never going to book you again. That's not true. And I was like, "You should have stood up for me a little bit on that."
Wait,
I
told
can
you we're
appreciate-
never going to book you again because one psychopath?
But he wasn't
Yes.
serious. I get it. The guy doesn't like conflict.
But
He's
then
on your side at least.
But then I leave, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna send him a message because I just wanted to send, "Hey, sorry about the ruckus."
Mm-hmm.
And then,
ruckus
but I
is-
already had a message from them, and they're like, "Hey, we're so sorry. We gave her your email address
What?
because like we're just trying to avoid a bad review." And I was like,
Dude, I was like thinking when I was coming back to New York yesterday. I mean, I was on a lot of Klonopin because that's what I have to take to fly long distance. So a little cuckoo. But I was like, I might hit up that place because
I wanted to not say.
Are
it,
we
but go ahead.
beep? We'll beep it.
we can bleep it.
We can beep.
But
Yeah. The only reason
because
I don't
was
want
like,
to say it is because it is like, as much as like I don't want
that's
to work there
bad.
anymore. That's bad what they did, but there are like a struggling like venue still.
yeah, I guess you also run into the fact that like where they're located, it would be easily that they could get some kind of blacklisted.
Yeah,
amongst-
with
so
the Bushwick posse.
the fucking people
Yeah.
that have ideals that only work within a 10-block radius.
But it's like I don't want like, I don't know. It was, at a comedy club, there's someone to take care of that person,
Yeah.
walk them out, like, and then
Assassinate.
yeah, just hit him with a shovel. And this was another one of those situations where the whole like all of the comics don't know what the like how to behave in the situation because I'm contractually right about what I'm doing. I'm up there telling jokes, even no matter how stupid they are. But I was just like no one was on my side at the moment.
Oh yeah, that.
And I was like, why?
Yeah, that's something that's like hard because like I have a joke that's like it's misogynistic, but it's purposely misogynistic to get a reaction, and then it also makes me look stupid. Like and it's about periods. And this happened to me in Berlin where I was like talking about it. I was like, my wife is mean to me for a whole week every month. And this woman from the audience yells out, she goes, "You deserve it." And I was like, what?
Can I ask how old she was?
She's in her 30s, probably.
Oh.
But
that's not an idealist. That's a lady scorned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been through something to get there.
Yeah.
It's just so weird to me how often you can be like, what if like unicorns ran a pizza parlor and people are like, this is funny. And then you're like, my wife's a bitch. And they're like, now you're being real.
Yeah.
Now this is on the record.
Well, so I had told right before this, apparently someone in the audience told me that she got really upset when I told this joke about like, I was like, oh, every time someone sucks me off, I turn into Oliver Twist. And I'm like, please, sir, can I have some more? It's not a good joke. I'm open micing at this point.
You're judging his joke?
It just threw me. Sucking off.
Oh yeah, you're not a sexy guy.
I'm not a sexy guy.
And then, I also go and I say, please, sir, can I have some more? And then my dad's like, more? So it's a joke about my dad
sucking your dad.
My dad sucking my dick.
Yeah.
And that was the first joke where she was like, I hate this guy. and then afterwards I told the celibate thing, and then she was like, I can't, he's such an awful person. I'm like, both of those never happened, you know?
Yeah.
It is weird how much of a overlap there is now with like, there's so much comedy and it's everywhere. And then there's also this whole culture of like TikTok liberal, and that's not even liberal. It's like, I don't even know what you call it. La La Land? I don't know. It's just like so beyond what we're actually trying to achieve. Not that I have a problem with it. This isn't me going on some like tirade, but that those people now come to shows, and it's like they can't. Every words are violence and that kind of stuff. It just it's a crazy interaction.
I think that'll sort of start to die down on its own. I don't know if that's true, but I do think a lot of people that initially were pretty into that stuff, I feel like a lot of people are coming off it, or just seeing how
I think
how fucking unhelpful it is. And
also, I think comedy, in terms of like how wide and mainstream it is going to start to die down, and it'll just get back to people who want to see comedy and understand it in the audience. Yeah, like that girl does not understand comedy. She never went to a comedy show probably before, and.
Clapped her.
Yes.
Finally, three guys can get together and talk about it. You know. Yeah. This is what the world.
I feel better.
But that just happened to me last week, so I was like, this has been weighing on me.
Yeah.
I've had a pretty tough string of things with wokes lately.
It's so weird because I am pretty far left, but when somebody can't like decipher the comedy, because it's like I'm always going to vote to like support trans kids and refugees and the environment, but I'm also going to like make fun of a disaster. And like the people that can't separate the jokes from the actual like lifestyle, that's the things where I'm like, we're hopeless, Yeah. Anyways, that was a dark one.
How's it going, Michael Rowland?
How's it going for me? Oh man,
have we started did an intro and everything?
Hey, everybody. We keep on forgetting to introduce the podcast. This is only episode 12 or something. No, this is the Known Zone. And on the Known Zone, me and Wilfred pick apart a specific topic with a funny friend. Ooh. And today we have the very funny and killing it, Michael Rowland. Michael was like just a funny guy. He was just a funny guy when I met him, and I was like, this kid's gonna be all right. And then he got passed at the cellar. Yeah, he got passed to the cellar, and I was like, how you doing, man? Oh, actually, I think Roland was the guy where the first time after the pandemic, I was like, man, Estee's not giving me spots. How many did you get? And he was like, yeah, man, it's been a rough week. She only gave me 14. And I was
No, never. I've never been that guy the whole time I've been there.
I got 2.
No, dude, I was getting 4. And then people close to me were getting like 14, and I would just be like, I felt like I was just like,
I thought that I thought it was the whole house. So you didn't actually get
no.
love.
I wasn't getting the same love. I think that was good for me because it made me like, I don't know. I felt like I had to do more and like find other things to do, but I definitely didn't feel like I was like flush.
Yeah, there is something nice about not like I love it there, but I also am glad that it's not my only thing.
Yeah.
Because I do like to go to other clubs and things like that, and I think that there's something you got to go to different places.
Dude, totally. And it's, I don't know. I'm excited. Now I can frame it if I don't have a lot. I'm like, okay, I can go to these other spots that are really can be super beneficial and just fun.
Yeah,
fun in a different way because there's not that weird pressure.
I do think I'm a little too. I was just thinking about this morning. I'm too club right now. Like every time I leave, like New York club, and I'm like doing stand up in Brooklyn or something, I am not as successful.
I had the most fun show that I've had in a long time recently in London last Monday. I did like my hour, and I did it at this club called Angel, which is like kind of the closest thing to the UCB, or like what's our other alt venue in? Do we have an alt venue anymore in New York? Just like a place that kind of does like lots of stand up, but it's on the alt side, and also they do sketch and improv occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, there's like a place called Brooklyn Comedy
Collective.
So it's
Brooklyn Comedy
it's not quite that like in the.
It's still
it's a very mainstream club. Like Rob Delaney regularly performs there.
Yeah.
Ashling B. Like it's also like a
Ashland B.
It's like a hub to kind of famous create a lot of one man shows.
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah.
So I went into it and I was like going like. I went on stage and I was like, I feel like I should be doing a one-man show. And so I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then
You're wearing an earpiece microphone?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
but
Britney Spears.
It allowed me to like kind of be more conversational. And a lot of times like I would stop telling jokes and I would just tell a story, or I would just talk about something that was going on. And it was so nice not to have that comedy club pressure of all these people that are out like, it's my Friday. I paid $45. I want you to make me laugh right now.
Yeah.
You know?
I thrive in the pressure, I believe. Like when I had some of the most fun sets I had last week at New York Comedy Club. Like probably the best I've ever been in my entire career.
Just because you had to deliver.
I was just riffing and I felt natural. I felt like everything.
I do feel like that club demands. Every time I've been there, I've just been like, "Fuck, keep it up."
I think I'm in my Ricky Williams phase, which is that I'm abandoning the NFL to become a Ayurvedic yoga teacher.
Dude, so interesting. That guy, he did an episode of Pause with Sam J, and it was
about getting a blowjob in a park.
Yeah, dude, while they like drank tea. I was like, this is sick.
I love him.
He's great.
Have you ever watched the doc on him?
I think I've seen
I don't even
pieces
know who
of,
he
I
is.
think it's a 30 for 30.
Yeah, it's a 30 for 30. He was just like, he was a star college football player, drafted in an NFL, superstar, got injured, started to get the pressure of like a sophomore and junior kind of year of the league. And he said, I don't need this. And just left, went to Northern California and became a yoga instructor.
And everybody said he was crazy.
And then he came back, but was never the same just because he was like, I don't need to do this. I don't need to like destroy myself. You got a sports background?
No, not at all. I was very undersized in high school, and then I think I spent college and all the time after that trying to make up for it.
Oh,
to
really?
like prove I could be
like lifting
athletic.
weights?
No, like learning different stuff, like stuff you could learn later without any background. So I would listen to the Joey Diaz podcast, and he was like, I started doing jujitsu. I love jujitsu. So I found a place next to my college that taught it, and I was like, okay, I'll do that. So it's been mainly trying to learn stuff like that because you can do it alone without any experience.
You know what's weird is you come from Southern conservative background, religious, and you are very down to earth, very non-judgmental as far as I can tell. The only time I've ever had an inkling,
fuck yeah, they think I'm a good guy.
I did it. No, but the only thing I've ever seen you do that was like vaguely kind of conservative-ish was I told you about the movie The Hunt.
Oh yeah,
and I told him about the movie. We were in the truck.
What's The Hunt?
It's like this movie came out maybe 4 years ago about like all these liberals are hunting these conservative hicks.
Adam, you're so good at this job.
It's a really kind of fun movie, but
Ike Barinholtz is in it.
Yeah, it's like a horror comedy where like
Ike's
basically
great.
like these super like Jeff Bezos types pay $1 million to hunt conservatives.
And I was furious about it.
Yeah, and he was like, but it was such a pure moment because Mike just goes, that's really going to upset them.
But true, like it
That
just
is
feels
true.
like it's bad for people. It's bad when any movie is like, this group is gonna hunt this group because this group is innately fucking shitty.
I completely agree.
Where
I
it
don't.
just doesn't help the country at all.
Yeah, aren't we like the idea? Like that's obviously going to separate.
It didn't make the
More.
liberals look good though. It made them look evil.
Yeah, exactly.
But
where it's like,
it's a comedy, so I didn't see it that way. But in this fucking world we live in, it just takes one person going like, they're gaslighting us into thinking they aren't hunting us. And,
Right.
Then it's a call to arms.
yeah, it felt like a weird, irresponsible. It's like something you would expect conservative people to make, and be like, just
Yeah.
like, look at that.
Yeah.
But
It is so weird. I'm at an age now where I can look at something like a piece of entertainment and be like, that is irresponsible.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's harmless,
Dude,
it's irresponsible.
I do it all the time. I think that's where it comes out for me. Like I was watching Wolverine and I was like, this can't be good for us. There's so much gore.
Yeah.
I was watching it like, this is not good for
you're
our
at the like
minds.
Mortal Kombat's too violent thing.
I mean, a little bit for sure.
Well, I think that with the whole like DC universe shit, I just think it's bad for us because it's so formulaic that no one understands.
Yeah, it's not like a
real
it's
art
just it's
anymore.
just it's shitty entertainment. I don't really do a lot of superhero movies, but I like the Spider-Man stuff.
I
I'll
will.
say that.
That is a positive branch of the superhero stuff.
The
There's
Spider-Man
a lot of
stuff?
there's
Dude,
a lot
yeah.
of like wholesomeness in it.
Tom Holland and
kinda-
all the Enter the Spider-Verse stuff has been
Wait,
fucking killer.
Tom Holland seems like a real cutie pie.
Do you
Doesn't
guys
he? Yeah.
feel that way? Do you guys ever feel that way about comedy? About how
Comedy's irresponsible.
Well,
Yes,
like-
yeah.
like
I mean, I definitely like.
someone said something irresponsible or whatever.
Well, like I mean, I have friends who I've like, when Ari tweeted that thing about Kobe right after he died, I was
Yeah.
like, that's like, I love Ari,
Sure.
but I was like, that's kind of, you don't need to.
I
do
didn't
that.
know him yet, really, and I was like, "Fuck this dude." I mean, now that
Yeah.
I know him personally, I'm like, "Oh, I like him," and it's like anything somebody would do. You're like, "I don't really agree with it," but at the time, I was like, "What in the actual fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff now where I can have a friend and I can go, I think that's fucking stupid, or like I don't
Yeah.
like that, and then I can also go like, but who cares? I mean, that's for you to figure out. We can still be friends.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like it when people stoke chaos just to do it because they think there's something like good about it, where they're like, "Yeah, fuck it, burn it down." Who
What's
gives
it?
a
What do you
shit?
mean in terms of?
Just like something like that doesn't serve anything, and it seems like it's baiting people just to be
Yeah.
like, "Rah, rah, rah."
Yeah, I think
And
there's a
if-
lot of cringe.
And then you can just be like, well, fuck them. Who fucking gives a shit? I don't like anything that stokes chaos without for no good reason other than fucking.
I also
why
think
not?
there's a lot of stuff that's like people love to tear apart because it's like easy,
Yeah.
And then I think because it's modern, right? Like the modernist approach to something is to go like, well, this old thing is bad, and it's like, but there's good parts of it. Like I think there's so much like urban liberal ideal that it's like you don't need these families and these fucking bullshit institutions like marriage and stuff, and it's like we're all just alone on our phones,
Yeah.
like on social media watching like
Yeah.
Netflix horror when it's like, and then you go to like
My
a
dick's
southern,
just getting softer and softer
Yeah.
every time I penetrate a woman.
and then you go to like a vaguely,
That's so.
we're just on pills that make our dicks don't work. And we're like, this is the solution. And then you go, somebody who I'm like, in theory, diametrically opposed to, they're like having dinner with their family every night and they're just like happy. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, they're bigoted in some ways, but they also have like life figured out.
Yeah. I empathize with those people way more than the like people that probably align with me politically, but like dress in fucking they're dressed like they're in the movie The Crow, walking around Bushwick.
That was Berlin, man. All of Berlin dressed
really?
like the Crow.
Oh,
the
God.
entire Berlin
I would
was
have
dressed.
like I would have lit myself on fire. Like in that
Oh man,
month.
there were so many silly people in Berlin.
Did it feel like the fashion sort of lined up with what's happening in New York when you were there? Did you see anything too far outside of the norm of what you'd see here?
Oh yeah, dude.
Really?
I mean, it's like techno electronic nightclub is like their normal club.
Yeah.
So it was not abnormal to see like a guy in like head to toe latex.
Yikes.
like head to toe latex on the subway. A bunch of Syrian refugee teenagers
It's
like
summer
pointing
too.
and
Jesus
I
Christ.
haven't even told anybody about this. This was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Packed subway, every kind of walk of life, and these like 4 or 5 Syrian kids who I think they were talking, like they told somebody else on the train that they were refugees, kind of like they had insinuated like, yeah, we're Syrian. And then this guy sits down, he's playing techno music in his backpack like a teenager on the subway, but he's like a 40-year-old man. And they're all kind of joking around, rolling cigarettes. And there's one black girl sitting by herself, but she's jammed in by all of them talking. And the train stops, and this little old man, not like old, he's like 50, but real creepy, just walks over and just leans across all of them and tries to kiss her.
What?
The black girl?
Yeah. He just goes, and she's like, and then he just stops and turns and walks off the train. Nobody... Nothing else.
So fun.
He didn't say anything. He didn't say. He didn't react. He just went in to kiss her. She went, ugh, and then he just turned and walked. And everybody was like,
What?
"What the
Now
fuck?"
he's on the next car trying to do it.
It's like it's the showtime of just trying to kiss
It's
a
like when-
girl.
Showtime,
It's like when a
everybody,
homeless
showtime.
guy comes in and just like starts like going on his knees and like, please, someone give me a kiss. No one gives it to him, and then he goes to the next car.
And I wanted to like,
fuck?
I really wanted to, because nobody acknowledged what that was
You
like
wanted
for
to kiss
her.
him?
Yeah, I wanted to kiss him, but no, I didn't stand up and do anything to grab him because
Sure.
I was just like, what the fuck is
I've
happening?
never been a hero.
No, I think I've been.
It sounds like she also handled it.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
fine. But I also kind of wanted to do that thing of like, hey, are you all right?
Right,
like that
right.
But I don't speak the language. I don't know if she does.
I also wonder, is that necessary?
Well, she
I think
seemed fine.
I think it depends on the person. Sometimes you could see somebody shaken up, and you're like, "Are you?" But if the body language is like, "That was weird," let's all
No,
move
she was
on.
definitely shaken up.
Yeah.
But
Oh, really?
I just felt like too much of a stranger, but also I didn't want to pull white savior mode.
Yeah.
You know?
You didn't want to add to the weirdness. Too.
Yeah, be like,
That's
hey,
weird.
I'm from America.
And we don't do that.
We don't do that. Do you want to come to
Meanwhile,
America?
a guy's jerking off on
Yeah.
a lady in New York.
Yeah.
I did. The
Sorry.
closest I became to a savior was last time we recorded. You and I like took the train down together.
Yeah.
And I was hopping on a train. I was hopping on the L, and there was a lady who, as soon as I get on, a lady just faints.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
She saw you.
She saw me. Fell in love.
Oh my god.
Ooh la la.
Ooh.
And then so she just faints, and then some other lady like picks her up and then they like takes her out onto the platform. I was the guy that held the doors open.
Nice.
Yeah, they closed on me. They marked up my shoes a little bit.
You just
No
sent her a
good
bill.
deed goes unpunished, my
Well,
friend.
guess what? No one seemed to care that I held the doors open.
Oh, they never
all
do.
clapped for the other lady who took the credit.
Speaking of white saviors, we cover a topic on this.
Yep.
So we're going to talk
Podcast.
about you.
And every episode we pick a different topic.
Specifically you.
He told me the topic, and I'm pretty stoked.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
I don't like leaking the topic. I like surprising him with it.
I know,
Well, it's
but
episode 12, and now you guys are still working out your kinks. But
I think it's
been leaked.
okay because I wanted him to kind of. I knew he was going to know about the topic because it's like it's essentially the South's 9/11 in a way. It really is.
It depends who you ask, but it was. I mean,
What is it?
It's
the
Sherman's March.
Yeah.
it definitely robbed us of some cool old historical buildings.
So
Yeah.
if you don't know what Sherman's March is, Wilfred, from
I know. I actually, I remember hearing about it in social studies, maybe 6th grade, and thinking, yeah, that makes sense. That's why you do war like that. Why would you not do war like that?
Right.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense if you're trying to fuck shit up.
I just don't understand. Like, there are like war crimes and atrocities, and I'm like, but don't you just want to just win? Isn't that the idea?
Yeah, and there were also fighting to end slavery.
Yeah,
Which was its own-
that's debatable. That's debatable.
Well, if we're gonna get into the topic, yeah, I can tell you how it's taught when I was in middle school.
I
yeah,
don't
in the South.
think I think as a northerner that would have probably fought to end slavery. I hope, You know, if I was.
But what if you had some pretty good slaves?
I'd like to think I was a real rebellious teen that was like, fuck you, Dad, this is bad.
Yeah.
There had to be at least a few people in the South that was like, fuck my dad, he owns slaves.
You know, there had to be one guy that was like, I'm in love with, this slave. And the dad was like, I'm going to kill you. I have to kill both of you.
Yeah. The dad's like, okay, fine, we're against
or the
slavery.
dad's like, I don't love it, but it's going to make you happy.
One of the cool Southern dad. You know what?
Yeah.
No matter, just as long as you're always my daughter. But no, so if you don't know, it was from November 15th to December 21st of 1864, the last year of the war.
Okay.
The South was already kind of on its knees.
Uh-huh.
William Tecumseh Sherman led a march after the fall of Atlanta to Port Savannah, which is just now modern-day Savannah.
And he did not burn Savannah because he said it was so beautiful. And at that point, they were like, we yield, stop, please stop.
But
is Savannah that pretty?
Yeah,
it's
where my whole
beautiful.
family's from, and I'm very proud of it because it's a pretty.
It's also a
pretty
cool
cool
town.
fucking town. And at one point, Martin Luther King called it the most integrated city in the South.
It's always been like they have the big art school there.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like they probably have a pride march and things like that.
It's always been its own little liberal hub. They have the third biggest St. Patrick's Day, actually second biggest St. Patrick's Day celebration
In the
which
US?
is kind of like a pride march.
Yeah.
And it's
A pride march for dumb people.
my whole family,
I'm Irish. I can make that joke.
bunch of dumb fucking mix.
You know, I went to
Southern mix.
My school was the Fighting Irish.
You went to at Notre Dame?
No, my high school.
Oh,
Remember?
okay.
Brotherhood of Irish. The Irish. What is it?
Irish
yeah.
Christian Brothers.
Yeah.
It's the best mascot to have.
Yeah, and I was the mascot.
Really?
Yeah.
Were people pissed?
Yeah. Actually,
Did you not? You were a head though, right?
no, there's no head.
Did
You were
do
just a
whiteface?
Filipino fighting
Yeah, I was a
Irish.
Filipino Irish.
I would have been pissed. I would have been like, what are we doing, guys?
Brother Greenan, who's probably passed by now, but like the biggest, like 100% Irish. Like,
Yeah.
Like his nose was bright red.
Oh, yeah.
And he hated that I was the mascot.
Yeah.
Because there are Irish kids in my school. There are Irish kids in my class that
Yeah.
could have been the mascot. But this is where everyone's just like, oh, this is just such a funny bit that Wilfred's the mascot.
Yeah.
Because it pisses
I
people
love
off.
that. I love all the kids were in on it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking
Oh, that's
hilarious.
great.
That is great.
Yeah, I got voted into being the mascot.
See, that's a
Did
fun
you
type
run
of
up and
chaos.
down the sideline doing like a?
He's doing Filipino shit.
I had to run up and down the sideline. They were doing tinikling the whole way.
Yeah.
They were
you threw
Drive a car with no
lumpia at-
muffler.
yeah.
What's a Filipino thing? What's
What?
a Filipino stereotype?
This car
I
with
took a
no
swing-
muffler.
Yeah, he's driving with no.
You just
Is
think
that
they're
right?
Mexican.
Okay,
No,
okay.
but that's a funny.
That's a good-
Actually,
funny
I would
swing and a
say.
miss.
That's a funny.
I would
thing
actually
to
say with a very specialized muffler
Yeah.
would be more accurate.
No. So I went to O'Day, which is a sports powerhouse,
Oh, cool.
and we were so good at
Dude,
football.
yeah, a lot of those Catholic schools were fucking in Atlanta.
All boys
too.
schools too.
Yeah.
And we were. It was actually awful to be the mascot because every time they scored a touchdown, I'd have to run up and down the field with an Irish flag, a giant Irish flag.
You didn't have a shillelagh stick?
Dude,
I did have a
I
shillelagh
love
too,
this.
which was part of my in the stands hanging out get up.
Did
but-
anybody try to steal your shillelagh?
No, it was very well protected by
Okay.
by the band.
by the Blarney Stone.
So whenever a touchdown was scored, I'd have to run. So that's like 200 meters because I'm running up and down, and they would score. Like we'd have like 54 points at that.
God damn! So
I
you're
was
just doing
running
field
miles.
sprints. Yeah.
With a flag.
His school was like one of those schools like where they recruited.
Yeah.
You know,
We
like
didn't recruit.
yeah, you did.
No,
you
we did
recruited
not.
for sure.
No. Our school is good. It's a good school to be at, so people want to go there.
Because it's like
You're tripping if you don't think
No,
that they
we
were
did
doing
not
some
recruit.
recruiting. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You think there was a black kid in Renton that was like, I want to go to an all white boys Irish school?
It wasn't all white. It was very integrated. Actually,
well, actually, did they do? I mean, yeah, their mascot was this
was a Filipino guy. We were woke as fuck.
Filipino.
Wait,
There's
but
glitter
do you think
floating.
that they gave out scholarships to kids to come there? So
Oh, definitely.
The school was the cheapest like private school in the area because most of the funding.
It's Washington State, right?
Yeah.
Around Seattle.
Yeah.
Like suburbs of Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So most of the funding for the school is from alumni because everyone loves the school.
Oh hell yeah.
They like love the tradition of it. So it's actually very cheap. I got a scholarship for my last year just because my dad lost his job.
Oh wow.
He lost his job and he was like, "Hey, is it okay if we?" He went into the office and was like, "I lost my job. Is it okay if I pay tuition double next month?" And then they were like, "Just tell us when you get a job again." And then they took care.
See,
and they literally
All
good
Wilfred had to
business.
do was hang out a little bit longer in the priest's bedroom.
yeah.
All Wilfred.
I had to work a little harder. I did. There's across the street from the school was where the Irish Christian Brothers stayed, and for the junior retreat, you had to go down into the basement of their place to get like supplies, and they had one reclining chair facing one TV, like those old box TVs with like a VHS thing in it, and it was clearly the chair that they all jerked off.
Jesus. That's
yeah.
hilarious. We had a
Cranking
bunch
it
of
for the
Irish
Lord.
priests too.
Cranking it for
Really?
Christ.
Did you
Yeah,
go to-
I went to a Catholic school, kindergarten to 8th grade in Atlanta. That was literally walking distance to my house. So the baseball field for the school was in my backyard, so I would just
Yeah.
walk through there.
Mine was
to go to
walking
school.
distance from my
That's
place,
where
too.
the church was.
Yeah.
That was like I've been thinking about. My whole life was centered around that. Because
Yeah.
then I was one of the only kids that went to the public school, which was like down the road,
Oh, really?
which was a great school. It was like an art school in Atlanta where kids from all over the city could come because it was a magnet school.
Is that where you got the acting bug?
I went there to act. I was doing acting stuff before that. My mom sort of got me into it.
Oh.
She got me into acting and stand-up when I was a kid because I was just really...
Really?
My parents are very, like, they're conservative Christian, but they've always been like, you should do this. You'll be good at this. My mom got me into it young.
Wow.
Truly. And they've always been like,
She Macaulay
we're proud of
Culkin'd
you.
you or Joe
You're doing
Jackson'd
great."
you?
Yeah. I remember she was trying to get me to do auditions when I was a kid, and I was like, I don't like this. Like, I don't want to do this all the time. And she like was like, all right, and she backed off. But
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
When did you
Good
start stand up?
I didn't really do my own stuff until I got to college, but I went to this summer camp called Kid Comedy Summer Camp where this lady Janet Schultz, who's still my friend, has known me since I was like 9 or 10, whenever I started going, maybe 11, 12. And she would just teach us old school comedy. Like, so we learned about like Henny Youngman and
Yeah.
Abbott and Costello and the Smothers Brothers. And she would teach us different bits or like Marx Brothers bits.
guys did, like,
and
Who's on
the end
First
of
and
camp,
shit?
you like perform for your...
But you
your
did like
teachers.
a Catskills style.
Yeah, we did.
performance.
That's
and then,
so funny.
And then if you went and took her class, that was she did classes throughout the year. Kid Comedy 1, Kid Comedy 2. She would write you like a Catskills type set based on your life.
Oh, that's
and then
so
you
great.
like go
Great.
deliver your stand up.
I once
I swear to God.
I had this dad contact me because he was like, my son wants to learn stand up. So he would come to the place that I lived in on Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
They would come to my place and pay me $100 an hour.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
For me to teach. The kid did not want to do stand up. He wanted to be on an iPad the whole time. The dad was a guy that tried stand up in like 92 and then wants to force his kid into stand up. So I would just write jokes for this 12-year-old and try to get him to like, recite them out loud.
Yeah,
It's funny. I've never been in any kind of. I've taken improv classes, but I've never been in the teaching game. I've never had an.
I also taught classes at Labs.
Yeah, I know. You've done a few educational.
Would you ever do it?
Sure, if the setting was right. I mean, I would want like to kind of. I would rather teach it to like kids who kind of couldn't
Inner city
didn't have
kids.
didn't have access to
Yeah.
kind of
Right,
that stuff.
right.
I could tell.
Refugees.
That was what Tiffany Haddish started in. They had like a program in Los Angeles
Yeah,
at the Comedy Store.
I didn't know that Tiffany Haddish was Eritrean. I found that out the other day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. So when I taught those classes, I knew that none of them really wanted to do it.
Right.
If you really wanted to do it, you probably would have already done it.
What the fuck? Why didn't any of them want to do it?
What they wanted was to do it once and to be successful when they performed in front of their friends.
Right.
So I knew that. So I was like, okay, let's teach you how to be normal on stage. So you're just loose and not stiff. And I will write your act.
Yeah.
And
that's what this lady did.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I had them give me premises and I was like, email me your premises. And then I just finished all their jokes. And then everyone crushed on at the showcase.
So you're a good teacher.
And then I bombed.
Well, you gave the kids all your juice.
Well, I do think that's easier. Like, I have a much easier time writing for other comics than myself.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason it's because I'm just separated from the idea that I'm performing the bit. I'm just like taking what I think they sound like. There's no consequences for me other than it's a job.
Yeah.
So how much did William Tecumseh Sherman rape and pillage?
I didn't actually get the rape stats. I'm sure that was happening, but he had.
How much do you know? Do you know? Did anyone get
rape
raped?
was never.
That
rape
wasn't
was
really
never mentioned. It was always the fires that were mentioned.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is
But wouldn't you rape if you're going to light it on fire?
They actually were kind of considered to be good soldiers in the sense that like they weren't really. I think that was still pretty bad. Like, I don't think it was like
rape was pretty bad back then.
Well, I think the idea that like if you went in and like as a white person raped another, I almost said waped. You waped another person.
That's so funny. No. A baby teaching other babies about wape.
Wape is wrong. No, but like. No, I think that they were kind of, because the whole idea is that they're going to take over the South, right? They're fighting the South, but they still have to win. They want the South to stay part of the Union.
Yeah.
That's what they're fighting for. So
you wouldn't rape because it's...
I don't think Lincoln was at the top like, whatever you can grab is yours.
Listen, there are no rules.
Spoils of war, boys.
So what was interesting is they had this army that was embedded in the South, right? So up along the front line where Robert E. Lee was fighting, which was Virginia, Pennsylvania.
Was he a celebrated guy?
You are taught at a young age that Robert E. Lee was a very good general.
Yeah.
I think I learned
he was
that.
also kind of torn about it.
Yeah, because he was kind of a northern southern.
Something like that.
Like
I
he's
forget
from
his
Virginia.
motivation, but I remember he was like, I'm going to do this, but I don't love it.
Yeah. I think he was torn. Like he didn't want to be involved, but then I think it was his kind of like, because he's from Virginia. I think he might be from Richmond.
Something. And he was like he was just good. He was like, I feel like they found him in the woods like, we need you for one last job.
Yeah.
And he was like, I promised myself I stopped doing this a long time ago.
It was like the assemble the gang kind of
He's John Wick.
Him and Stonewall Jackson.
Yeah.
Just like,
they were just on jet skis trying to outrun.
Stonewall Jackson, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, so I mean, what was interesting about them is they were behind enemy lines. So they had this troop and they had gone down and they had sacked Atlanta.
Okay.
But
burned it down.
Yeah, burned it down. And there was still a fair amount of Southern soldiers, but they were fighting. I have it in my notes. I don't want to look into it too much, but they were fighting with this guy named, God, I should look it up, Hood, up in Tennessee. Okay. That's where most of the Southern troops were, because they kind of didn't really take this other army that seriously until, of course, they fucking sacked Atlanta and burned it to the ground. But all that was left in the South, like the state of Georgia, there was about 13,000 soldiers, and then there was 3,000 militiamen. And the militiamen were mainly children and elderly men.
Oh, okay.
So Georgia they were all up at the front lines.
That's a hilarious militia.
Yeah, just old guys and babies.
Man,
babies with pitchforks.
It was pretty cute.
it makes me sad.
Yeah, it's okay. You guys are doing fine now.
We're okay.
Yeah.
But no, now it's just easier to draw the parallels to like Nazi Germany where everything's lost and they're like, well, let's get the kids involved.
Yeah.
It's just like, God, leave them alone.
Come on, let the kids be
leave
kids.
the kids alone.
Was your family already around?
Yeah, they were around.
Then?
They were around. My dad's mom's side was pretty, was a part of it. there was like forts named after him, all this stuff. And you learn about it when you're a kid and you're like, fucking no.
Cool. You're like, awesome,
No,
dude.
because you like know.
I have a fort. I have a fort. Yeah. I have
I
a
do
fort.
think there is a piece of that when you're a kid. You're like, okay. But then you're also like pretty aware slavery's a bad thing. So you're like, fuck.
Oh, really?
So it's like
I
this
wouldn't have even
weird-
had that. In
I wouldn't
mind.
have. I wouldn't think that would be in the air.
Yeah.
No, it's
for
definitely
me. It's
in
like,
the air. I mean-
Fort Wilfred. Let's fuck with that.
No, it's definitely in the air. It's never like bring it back. Everybody's pretty ashamed.
Well, it's
of
also
it.
like the blackest city in America.
Yeah,
too,
totally.
so
So you
you're
don't-
around it.
all the so you're not growing up like thinking it was this awesome thing.
Yeah, of course.
You're more like, I hope nobody finds
No,
out.
it-
Jesus Christ.
That there's a fort named after my
Jesus
grandpa.
Christ.
Yeah.
I was.
It's Fort Michael Rowland and a picture of some guy that looks exactly like you.
you.
It's like a Chairman Mao level photo
Yeah.
out front. Just like, oh, Jesus.
I'm related to Henry or William Howard Taft, the fattest president of all time. So I was never proud of that because he got stuck in the bathtub in the
Yeah.
White House and they had to build a new bathtub because he was so fat. And then also the first governor of the Plymouth colony.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's good stock.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right.
Strong stock.
Big boys.
Big boys.
So what happens?
So, anyways, he devises this plan where he's like, the South, they're all up here. Like, I'm down here. So him and Grant devise this plan. Lincoln and Grant are not sure it's going to work. They're like, kind of like, this seems kind of, because what they do is they go down kind of clandestinely. Like, and they also,
Just whistling.
yeah, they're just wearing gray
Nothing
suits.
going on.
He's got his big ass hat, but he's got like a shawl draped over it.
Yeah.
So he looks like a lady or something.
Just coming out
Just
here.
Branches sticking out of it. I'm a tree.
Yeah, he's on fucking Grant's shoulders.
But
Yeah.
In a big
They're both
trench
in a
coat.
big trench coat.
Make way for the biggest man.
wow, forget the war that's
Yeah.
going on.
One adult ticket, please.
Sometimes the best way to blend in is to stand out entirely.
Yeah.
They're like, Grant, you're so brilliant.
Well, I mean, all of the
He's
South
wasted.
was gone basically, so they just didn't have much of an
Sure,
like there wasn't
yeah.
much of it. And so what he wanted to do was he wanted to basically cripple the Southern Army's ability to reinforce,
Right.
by knocking out their entire supply.
Because
line.
Atlanta's terminus. Atlanta's original name was Terminus. That's where all the railroads ran through.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't
they-
know if that's actually accurate to the story. If
No,
they
it
had
is. It
railroads
is.
at
I mean,
the
they
time,
had.
I assumed.
So they have Atlanta, and then what's the other place that the South needs is Savannah, because Savannah is the biggest port in the South at that point. So he's like, we're gonna march to Savannah, and we're gonna burn down everything. Like, so basically destroy the Southern
So
economy.
that was told to Lincoln. Lincoln knew that burning was going to happen.
Yeah, and Lincoln was basically like, don't fuck up civilians, but anything else is fair game.
Right.
And so they just go on a march and they just basically destroy everything in their way. And they're basically unopposed, you know? So they're
Yeah.
just burning down factories, they're burning down train
They're like
stations.
the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah. Just the Washington Commodores were the only.
The Washington Generals.
Burning shit.
alley-ooping a Molotov cocktail into a barn. But they're doing like multi alley-oops. One guy's doing like this, like this. And they basically run unopposed because everybody's up at the top or they're fighting with Hood. And there's one guy named Hardy his troops are the ones that are left in Georgia, and they're basically backtracking to Savannah. He embeds and he gets 10,000 men lined up, and essentially so much damage has been wrought that he's dug in, but he gives up. He's like, this isn't worth it because like there's 60,000 of them, and because they were clandestine, they don't have all their shit. They don't have wagons. They have like backpacks and a mule.
Yeah.
That's all they
Oh,
have.
shit. I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
and also the whole thing was this was like the genius of it was that
They didn't have backpacks.
they had satchels. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine they had 2-strap bags back then.
But
Why not?
I don't think that they were that innovative. I think when were backpacks invented? Let's look that up. That's a very important side note. 1922.
Holy shit.
Okay, so they didn't have backpacks, but they had bags. They had some kind of bag.
Sure.
But also what they didn't do is they didn't bring supplies because the whole point was that they were going to raid everything.
Yeah.
So like they basically were just Vikings, you know? They were just like, we don't need to bring anything with us because we're just going to take it all.
Yeah.
They were called the bummers, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Because they
look like bums.
they bummed. No,
Yeah.
they took.
They made you sad.
Yeah, they were like,
Yeah.
These guys are really bummed
beautiful
me out.
sunset, but you know the air quality shit. You know, they did a lot of that.
That's what they call this podcast too.
Yeah, the bummers. But anyways, yeah. So there's not a lot of they faced few opponents, and then they got to Atlanta or Savannah, and Savannah was basically outnumbered. But they basically just burnt down the entire path from Atlanta, which they've already burnt down, to Savannah. And this is true what he said. He got to Savannah and thought it was so beautiful that after, he should have burnt down the entire port per the plan. But he was like, it's too beautiful. We also already won.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I think it was a matter of months before the South. It was basically
It's just like that was what I know is that was like the final straw.
It was, yeah.
And
But
the South fell.
a lot of Southerners felt very aggrieved because we didn't do a good job as a nation of rebuilding the South after we destroyed it. And that was one huge place resentment's laid because the economy had been devastated.
Lincoln's like, let's put a bunch of strip clubs and churches there.
Nail places,
You should
massage
legalize weed
parlors.
down there. Give them something, give them something to make
They
money
could
with.
chill out.
Yeah.
But build an art school in Savannah. Those guys are weird.
How
They're gonna
long?
like that.
What's the distance from Atlanta to Savannah?
It's like 4 hours by car.
Yeah. So
Oh,
it took
really?
them about 6 weeks.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
They
To
probably burned
tear
down
everything
Macon
down.
on the way.
yeah.
If I know my route.
How long does it take to walk? Let's get the walking directions.
79 hours. Took them about 6 weeks. So that's about
79
right.
hours. That's what 3 in it.
And there were 60,000 of them. And basically, but it cut off the
60,000 people with torches.
I don't know if they had torches, but
Sure.
60,000 dudes on the project. And they also were acquiring slaves as they went along.
Oh,
They were gaining numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Must have been exciting.
So what are you taught as a kid about Sherman's March?
Well, they usually talk about it as.
Did you ever hear this? Did you ever hear the War of Northern Aggression?
Yeah. We heard that a lot, for sure. They tell you it's more about states' rights, but then it's also teachers. It's like young women that are like, Becca. So
Yeah.
it's like there's this weird mix in the South where they're like, yeah, there's this weird pride. It's the War of Northern Aggression, but then also the factor of slavery. I mean, the teachers are like, but also slavery for sure.
Yeah.
But like, my dad is such a fucking goofball about Southern shit. He might call it the War of Northern Aggression.
Oh,
Yeah, because
really?
your dad's like a little tinfoil hatted, right?
He's not tinfoil hatted, but he's definitely like very proud to be Southern, and he doesn't like to feel put upon. He doesn't like to feel judged by. He calls people from the North Yankees.
Yeah.
He's very much in that camp where
I kind of wish that I had like a culture that I could attach myself to.
it
like
does
that.
help. I do feel strongly like, yeah, we're Southern. We've been in the South
Yeah.
for better or for worse for a long time. But I feel good that I was raised in Atlanta because that just was a great place to grow up. It's a great multicultural place to grow up as a kid. So you can weigh all your family's bullshit against, the real world.
Yeah.
And sort of find your own way.
Did they teach you that Sherman's March was basically like a atrocity?
I don't remember how they taught it, quite honestly.
Really?
But I do know that they were everybody. I remember we had a teacher in high school named Miss Sherman. She was my lit teacher. She was awesome. I loved her. But she said that she would catch flack from people for having the last name Sherman.
Like they
Just-
thought she was related? They're
Yeah,
like,
where people just sort of be like,
"Thanks
you know
a
what,
lot."
but also fuck you. Yeah, totally. 'Cause
Students are
there's people
trying to
that
light
carry
her
it
dress on fire.
people carry it around in a weird way. But then also, like, it was funny because the name Lee, my grandmother's maiden name is Lee, and her first husband's name was Lee.
Okay.
So her name was like Lee. That's how Southern.
So that's like a
her name was Lee.
Jackie Lee. But the Lees were spelled slightly different.
was that so is Lee a name to like want to carry around?
Well, it's just you can link it to Robert E. Lee. It's just linking
Yeah.
it to Confederate generals
Yeah.
if that's your jam, if that's what you want to do. But I don't think the name Lee is the most uncommon name.
Sure.
Can
yeah.
I ask, this has always struck me as kind of weird, is that in the South, there's such a pride of the Confederacy, like with the statues and all that. But you guys definitely lost the war, which is like it's always baffled me. There's no other place I've been to really where they lost a war and they were like, fucking, but we did it our way, you know.
Dude,
like
I've thought a lot about this.
It's a losers parade.
The way I like think about it, and I don't know if this is correct, but I think in America there's always a culture of being like, fuck you, I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah.
So it's the closest thing you can hold on to where it's like, fucking, we lost, but we put up a good fucking fight. It's like, you know, sometimes you want to root for the bad guy. It's like, you know, every Italian person in the world.
I mean, I bet it's like an underdog mentality.
I just wanted to be clear. I was trying to be funny with the Italian thing. And
nope, you hate Italians, and it's on the record.
do the Italian?
All this podcast is we try to get one gotcha moment, and that's all we release.
The underdog mentality, too, I think is a thing. Like my sister went to University of Mississippi, whose mascot was Colonel Reb. Their mascot's a Confederate shoulder. They had to change it. They've changed it to something else.
A Native American.
Yeah.
But it's it's
actually now like a Syrian refugee.
Yeah.
That's their mascot.
They've just gone way too far.
And I like know people that were like, fuck, why are they doing this? And at the same time, it's like, what are you talking about?
But also,
what are you talking about?
I also understand that.
I think that they actually
I'm like, why would you change it? Who cares?
They changed Western Washington's mascot from the Vikings because somebody complained.
Really?
So what is it now?
I don't know, but it's not the Vikings, which is like, I don't know if they were offended because Vikings raped and pillaged or if they were like, that's offensive to Nordic people.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's the rape and pillage part.
Yeah, probably.
When I was in London, I went to the British Museum, which is way too big.
Yeah.
I actually was just talking about that
Takes
with
too
Gavin.
long.
Way too big. I went into 2 rooms. I was like, I'm just overwhelmed, and I left.
I feel that way about the Met, though. It's like you go into one section, and you're like, there's so many fucking plants.
Well, I didn't realize the Met was as big as it was. I was just like kind of exploring, and then as I was leaving 3 hours later, I was like, wait, there's like 6 wings I didn't see. But turns out the Vikings were they weren't as barbaric of a culture when you got back. Like they were just like, you know,
when they got home, when they washed all the blood off.
Yeah, they were nice, family oriented people.
And I think one thing though, that not to be in defense of rape, just so it's clear, not to be in defense of wape, but I think a lot of times they did it because the whole idea was that then you are putting your descendants into their, you know, not that it's good.
No.
But it wasn't like the sexual power kind of thing, you know?
It wasn't like a weird kink.
No, I also think still bad. Still bad. Very bad.
Still bad.
So the mascot used to be Victor E. Viking, right?
Yeah.
And now it's something called Major Tuddy.
That's my school?
Yeah.
My alma mater?
Yeah.
Major Tuddy. Major Tuddy sounds like way more of an issue.
You know what's actually really funny about my school, too?
What?
Oh, he's a pig.
He's a fucking
He's
I'm so glad I wasn't.
pig.
I actually would have got offended during that period. I would have been protesting. But
oh, wait. What is this? Commanders unveil new pig mascot?
I don't know if this
I
is
think
right.
I think I might have.
Yeah.
I think it's it. Maybe that.
No, that's the Washington Commanders, the football team, the NFL team. But
I would like to say I think there's a difference between pride in the Confederacy and just overall Southern pride. Because there are people that
because Southern pride just gets
of all groups that are just like they're
pushed
proud to
into
be
that.
from where they're from, and if you're from the South, you're like, that's my shit.
I don't think anybody in the Northwest legitimately is proud to be from the Northwest like that.
I'm so curious about what it's like to grow up in the Northwest because I always viewed it as just the opposite of the South. It's just very liberal and very progressive.
But it's so funny because the second you leave the city, it's like Confederate flags.
I also
Really?
find it
Oh, yeah.
I hate that is a thing that is all over.
There's Confederate
the country
flags in
now.
Canada now.
Why?
Dude,
Why do you hate that?
Because it's this weird cultural shift that's happening where it's like, oh no, this is just racism. That's what it means. Because you could still defend it in the South, being like, oh, it's a. I mean, the second it's even outside of there, not that I would defend it in that way, but it's just so clearly like, hey, here's a flag that says I'm fucking
people
racist.
move.
Yeah.
People relocate.
Sure, but
Not
you're
to
gonna
Canada.
relocate
Not to
I mean,
Alberta.
apparently they have them in fucking New Jersey, and it's just like, what the fuck is happening?
An
What are you
Italian
doing?
guy with a Confederate flag.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, you're just fucking.
I
racist.
I've always been on record of not being a fan of the Northwest. And I just wish that there was a little bit more culture to it. Like, at least in the South, there's like a sense of pride, a sense of culture, something that you feel connected to.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist in the
I
Northwest.
really do think I started to feel that more once I left. I actually, no, that's not true. Because when I was there, I started liking Jeff Foxworthy as a kid because I was like, these are my family.
Yeah.
I'd been in Europe for 10 days, so on the plane ride home, I watched 6 episodes of Yellowstone just to get kind of.
I thought you were going to say Frasier.
Yeah.
That's good to be home.
Oh God, it's nice to be back. No, but I've always complained about this, like. Being a white person from Seattle is like the most culturally devoid existence.
I don't think that's
what I mean is, like, I don't have a Southern thing. I don't have a rural, like,
right.
There's no farmers. There's no, like, I'm not Irish in that way. Like, I got nothing.
You don't think of Seattle as a city for any group other than just
Native Americans
or white.
Yeah.
Like Boston, it's like, oh, that's Irish though. New York, it's like they're white but they're Italian. It's a little more fun. It's jazzed up.
And then in Seattle, it's just like, we did grunge and heroin.
Yeah.
There's salmon.
I was gonna make the case for grunge. I was like, what about Kurt Cobain? You got Kurt Cobain.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
But it's just it's frontier-y people.
Yeah. It is.
Right? Yeah. It's just people that.
Well, it's funny because when you're in the city of Seattle, like, I don't know if you've been there very much, but in the city of Seattle, you see this a little in Vancouver where you spent some time.
Yeah.
The people that, like, go there as, like, their kind of like city I'm going to run away from things to look like they just came right out of the mountains.
Yeah.
There are, like, people where it's like a guy will show up, he'll have a beard, flannel, like camping backpack.
Yeah.
And you're like, where are you from? And he's like, oh, just Wenatchee.
Yeah.
And you're like, good luck.
Right. Yeah, it's a bunch of people I imagine that could be the guy from Into the Wild.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm about to just.
I do have a lot of friends that, like, I have so many friends that easily could survive off the grid for years.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was a camp counselor.
How long do you think you could survive?
Pretty long. I know how to do all that shit.
Yeah, you do.
That's the thing. I'm like a pussy,
about you, Mike?
but I could survive.
I couldn't do it. My brother could. My older brother could. He's big on, like, hiking.
Has he done the trail?
He did the AT. He did the Pacific Crest Trail.
Sick.
We were in Boy Scouts. He made it to Eagle Scouts.
Pacific Crest Trail is so much harder than the AT.
He realized that when he started it. He told me, he was like, I started it and I was like cocky.
Pacific Crest is the one on the West Coast?
Yeah, it goes from, like, the desert in California up to the Canadian border.
Deep ass desert.
I've heard that
but there's parts of it that are snow.
Mm-hmm.
You get, like, a nickname from the people that you travel
from
with.
the AT. Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother's nickname was Orangutan.
Yeah,
because he has long red hair.
It's like your name is like Bunghole or something like that.
You get a trail name.
We hiked a part of the AT on my bachelor party. That strip.
See, now that's a culture then. If your bachelor party is going on a hike.
I mean, I have that culture. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Subarus are always being looked at when a car is purchased.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Andy loves a like utility vehicle.
I have a lot of, like, I do have every piece of camping equipment in my house.
Really?
Oh yeah. Dude, we went camping last week. I was like,
I didn't actually know that about
completely prepared.
You like Patagonia?
I have so much Patagonia.
Great company though. It's a fantastic company. Yes.
Yeah, when we went camping, I was just like, I'm gonna bring sunglasses because I knew Andy had it all.
You know, I just noticed is on the timer it says 1 hour timer and it says videos and then it says bomb. All right, Google. I have to go interview a night nurse, so I have to cut this short.
All right,
Michael Rowland, you are an actor, a comedian. You perform live. You're going to be at the Earl in Atlanta, July
12th. If you're in Atlanta, please come out to the
day
Earl.
After my birthday. You're going to be joined with my hilarious and your hilarious friend Jake Nordwin.
Love Jake Nordwin.
So funny, writer for SNL. Have we heard anything about another season of Animal
We got
Control?
renewed for a second season, but we don't know what's happening because of the writer's strike. So everybody's in a holding pattern.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And can be seen regularly at the Comedy Cellar and other New York establishments.
And you can check out my podcast In the Minivan with me and Max Fine.
Max Fine, good friend.
We just recorded his album. And Instagram, Michael Rowland _O.
Okay. Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
guys.
Thank you.